Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode. We are glad you're here helping us enjoy the best hobby in the world. We've got a lot of steam news this week. We're hearing from Youngstown. We're hearing from the Santa Margarita Ranch, and Heston is digging it.
Also, a didgeridoo shuts down an entire train station.
This is Railroad Showcase. The Heston Steam Museum in Heston, Indiana, is digging deep to reduce the 5.5% ruling grade on the section of their run called Glacier Pass. In these live stream videos, General Manager Ted Rita reports on the work.
And my name's Ted Rita. I'm the General Manager here at the Heston Steam Museum. This is a summit of our narrow gauge railroad. This track has been down since 1965 in this location. But it has been rebuilt several times. This grade is a 5.5% right here at the top. It's about 4 leading up to this.
So our plan for today is to get the track off to the side, out of Adam's way, so he can cut a new subgrade in there. The track's a little bit soft, so he's going to put down some new subgrade. We'll pull the track back over. I think he's going to put about 4 inches of pre-ballast underneath the tie, so it's a whole lot closer when we pull the track back over. We'll reconnect, dump some stone on it, resurface it, and like you said, take the curse off of this, and your equipment should ride a lot smoother through here, and you should feel a real difference.
Continuing our work for our cut project that will reduce this grade by about 8 feet in elevation. We've dug now down about 4 feet. We're gonna do the last foot or so with the maybe that's 5 feet. We're gonna do the last foot or so with the bulldozer so they can fine tune it. We are scheduled to be in service middle of April somewhere, and we're looking forward to a whole new elevation here and taking it a little easier on our running gear and locomotives.
It's worth noting that this line is a rare combination of 3-foot and 2-foot dual gauge track. The museum also has 7.5 and 14-inch gauge equipment in addition to numerous traction and stationary steam engines.
On Friday the 22nd, Canadian National announced the closure of its acquisition of the TRANSX group. The original agreement was reached in October of last year, but was subject to review by Competition Bureau Canada, as well as Canada's Ministry of Transportation. TRANSX has been one of Canada's top shipping and transportation service providers for decades, and this deal will strengthen both companies, solidifying TRANSX's future in intermodal transport throughout North America, as well as giving Canadian National an even longer supply chain. A new bill was just presented to Congress by U.S. Representative Dong Young, the Safe Freight Act. This would require 2 certified crew members to operate a freight train. With the ever-growing advances in automated systems across all industries, including railroading, the possibility of needing only 1 crew member, or even removing all crew members in favor of a completely autonomous train, is no longer science fiction. However, when legislators and unions remember events such as Lac Mégantic, they want to make sure that people and property stay safe.
The J&L Railroad at the Youngstown Steel Heritage Site has steamed up their beefy little 2-foot gauge 040T. This tank engine was built by Porter. The saddle tanks have yet to be installed during its restoration. She will run on newly laid track at the site.
When we started on this thing, was about 4.5 years ago.
Yeah, just about.
Some of you remember this was just a piece of solid rust, but everything's been torn completely down, rebuilt, a lot of steel added, a lot of work done. We added a mechanical lubricator on here and got rid of the hydrostatic lubricator. Basically this past week we've been working non-stop for the last 5 or 6 days, putting all this piping on, getting everything finished on it. The whistle is mounted here. It's kind of in a strange location, but this is where the whistle was at, and the pipe runs all the way back into the cab. Makes it kind of interesting sounding because a couple of seconds water comes out. Since we don't have a saddle tank on this, we have an auxiliary water car back there and a water hose running up this way. It kind of looks a little bit odd, but it works for now. When the saddle tank's on, this here will be connected into the bottom of the tank so that we can get water out of the tank. Then we've got the blow down here. And then basically the tender, which is made from one of the Carpenter flat cars we bought off of Kowalczyk. So the valve for the injector, this is for the blower, shut off for the water glass, the main turret valve, and there will be another valve here for steam brake. This is for the whistle, and that's for the injector on the right side. We do plan to put steam brakes on it. The brake valve is here. We just have to plumb it in and put the cylinders up front. Cylinder cocks, so that's open. This was closed. And then over on this side, the injector we have, this is brand new, bought it on eBay. It's a Garfield double jet injector. This is what these locomotives had on originally. This was brand new, still in a wooden box. But that's about it. It's a 45-ton locomotive. Took about 4 years to redo. Yeah, great. All right. So anyway, if you want to see this thing run, on May 11th and the 12th, we will be running this locomotive both days, all day long. Come on out to Youngstown, Ohio, see a run, ride in our Crowne car behind it, or if you're lucky enough, you can take your turn running the locomotive on our railroad. So
we'd like to thank Rick Rowlands for sharing this material with us.
On Monday, the 25th, 13 train cars derailed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin around 8:15 p.m. 2 cars were carrying scrap metal, the other 11 were empty. No one was injured, and while there was cleanup needed at the site, there's no real impact on the community. In the morning of Thursday the 28th, the Flagstaff station in Melbourne, Australia, was evacuated when police responded to a possible gunman on board an arriving train. People saw him breathing oddly and thought that he might have been carrying a rifle in a bag. As it turns out, all the bag contained was a didgeridoo, and his strange breathing was just a warm-up for his day of performing.
And in our last news segment, we have a piece sent to us by Hayden Seabold, who's been helping out at the Pacific Coast Railroad in Santa Margarita, California. He and Mark Scarborough and Bobby Goldie have been working to get their porter ready for the Memorial Day run.
Hello everyone, my name is Hayden Seabold. We're out here in Santa Margarita Ranch in Santa Margarita, California. I was asked to rebuild this 9.5 Westinghouse air compressor for the locomotive, along with put in a proper lubrication system and rebuild the governor and a couple other things. So over the last couple months, myself and my buddy filming Mark, with a little bit of help from our fireman Bobby, have been out here. Ever since I got the pump rebuilt back on, we've been hard at it, getting the plumbing all done for the new lubricator and most of the new steam supply to the compressor. So if you come over here, just for those who don't know, this is a 9.5 Westinghouse compressor, 9.5 is the size of the bore. You can side. This is the steam section. This is the side building compressed air. As it fills there, it goes to the reservoir tanks, and that way you have air for braking. So it's very critical that these work. So we're in the cab of this 1897 Porter, and the basis of what we did for the lubrication system was put in this new single feed hydrostatic lubricator in. If you want to come in and get a little bit closer and see the drip working. So as we plumbed it, steam comes in off the manifold down here, and then it's piped and comes into the top and into the condenser, and it mixes with the oil here, making all hot oil. And as the water goes in, the oil flows to the top, and that's where this the regulator valve pulls its oil from. And this tube is full of water here. So as you see it drips, it gets carried upward, and it goes to the output valve here, which then goes to the air compressor itself. So many long hours of plumbing work to get this thing put in and refurbished, and it seems to be working well. Like I said, could not have done it at all without the help of Mr. Mark here. He's been my right-hand man in this whole process. And of course, Mr. Bobby has put in his time when he's been able to. And it's pretty good that now we've had some success, and we've been doing a lot of trial runs here. Doing a little bit of tinkering, but now I think we've got it dialed in, and it's been a heck of a fun process.
It might be the only chance you have to ride the railroad this year when the Best of the West Antique Engine and Tractor Show comes to the railroad. That's May 24th through 26th.
Alright, so let's take a look at the process of starting up an SW9. I've become a fan of this YouTube channel called the Thornapple River Rail series. They put out some really informative videos on a variety of subjects. It's clear that they work hard to give real substance to their shows. This over-the-shoulder video was shot at Coopersville and Marne Railway in Coopersville, Michigan a few years ago, and has become one of their most popular.
So, anytime it's been cooled down, you gotta open these up, roll it over to verify that there is no water in the cylinders. Some of them you get a wrench to do them. This one here's got handles. Battery knife switch.
That's better.
How's my diesel?
Good. This is an old air throttle. Very few locomotives have this. And a lot of the ones that did have been converted over to standard notch throttle that people will be used to today. This one, you actually have to pull it out of the stop position and put it in idle.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah, man.
Handbrake set.
Yes.
And let's hold your wheel taut.
Thank you, sir. And we roll her over. That's a reverser handle. A little different than what's on most locomotives built in the last 40 to 50 years. Also uses a hammer apparently at some point. Cannot make it go without it.
Okay, for our next favorite find, I came across a news piece that was done by WCCO television in Minneapolis, and they gave some nice public-oriented coverage of the North Metro Model Railroad Club in Coon Rapids. This layout is only 7 years old, but it has finished a good portion of its 5,000 square feet to a pretty high level of detail. It models the main line from Minneapolis to Duluth in HO scale.
It is really impressive. I know when I had a home layout, it was on a 4x8 sheet of plywood, so one city. But here we just have so much space. Like, it takes so long to get around everywhere. It's really, really amazing.
It can take up to a half hour or longer for a single train to go all the way around, about 5,000 square feet, and it's all connected. Each little town is a replica of the real-life city it represents.
Big Lake is where the North Star gets serviced. They do air tests for the trains to go.
Chiron Tarman is a club member who actually works for a railroad. If Brainerd, Staples, or St. Cloud make a change to their respective cities, that same change will happen in this basement.
We're also seeing here some of the less formal layout tour videos found on the club's website. They have about 50 members at this point, and interested people are encouraged to come and join the fun. More photos, video, and information can be found at their website, nmrrc.org.
Now we're going to England, to the Midhance Railway. They have lost a small but historic bridge in the town of Alton in Hampshire, England. The Knights Brown Construction Company has a dedicated website with detailed photos of the roadwork being done. Butts Bridge was a brick arch structure. Its narrow opening made for a tight entrance into town. There's more traffic now than there was in 1865 when the bridge was built, so something had to be done. And of course, there needed to be a farewell ceremony of some sort. So on January 1st, 2019, the Midhance Railway held a ceremonial last crossing of the 153-year-old bridge. They laid a series of detonators, we would call them torpedoes, on the rail in order to go out with a bang. This time-lapse footage from Knight Brown shows the grisly job of tearing out the vintage bridge.
You know, we should also add, though, that they are going to replace the bridge. They just needed wider road access going into town. So
Right.
They're not going to stop running. So, now let's take a look at a video shot by All Aboard Productions. Last September, they went to Hill City, South Dakota to the Black Hills Central Railroad. And they did an excellent job of capturing their articulated Baldwin tank engine number 110. They got a variety of angles and framed the shots very well, leaving enough scenery to really give a sense of the woods and the terrain of the area. And just listen to the sound of that echo. The standard gauge Black Hills Central, also known as the 1880 train, runs on 10 miles of the old CB&Q Keystone branch. The full video by All Aboard Productions is 14 minutes long and can be found on their YouTube channel.
So, the Union Station in Indianapolis has a long and prestigious history, one that we can't really do justice to right now. In short, it was the very first Union Station ever, and the current building finished construction in 1888. In the 1960s, with the decline of commuter travel by rail, the station was nearly dead, with vagrants and vandals taking over much of the space. In the late 1980s, a Crowne Plaza hotel took over most of the train shed, slowly taking over more of the station. Today, it's got to be one of the coolest hotels I've ever seen, and the station still actually functions. The hotel uses 13 Pullman cars, having converted each into 2 rooms. I think they've done a fantastic job of keeping the balance, bringing in a modern, chic look, while maintaining the slightly industrial railroad feel of the station before it.
That really looks like a nice place. So we need to go to Indianapolis and we need to stay there.
Absolutely.
So you Gold and Silver Spike members, again, we are so glad you're here. Your support is making a huge difference. We are having a great time. The numbers are growing steadily, so we are picking up steam.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it.
And remember, keep your hand on the throttle and your eye on the rail.